Please welcome APAP President and CEO, Lisa Richards Toney.
Good evening. Good evening. Look at the house is full. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Welcome. Welcome to the opening plenary, the most exciting night of conference, outside of all the showcases. It's good to see everyone. Good to be here. Thank you for making the trip to New York. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a member. And thank you for supporting what we do. I'm gonna give my remarks with a little story from long ago, but I promise you it's gonna get to where we need to go. And so when I became president of APAP in July 2020, you remember that? Right as the pandemic shut down in-person gatherings and threatened to shutter the performing arts, you told me, Lisa, if you don't connect the conference and get us going, if I don't have my booth, I'm gonna lose my business. It's over for me. I had so many people in the Zoom room, right? That's how we had an office, with that cry. And the fear was real because the stakes were existential. And 6 months later, we held our first virtual conference. Since then, we fought so many fights together, seemingly without pause. It's exhausting. We persevered through a global pandemic, securing $16 billion through Save Our Stages. You helped us build a sustainability plan to future-proof this organization. We've navigated policy earthquakes like H.R. 1, restructuring how individuals give, how corporations donate, how foundations operate, and how universities are taxed. The entire funding ecosystem shifted while we were still rebuilding. And here's what I learned through all of it. If you can sit still in moments of crisis, you can find your answers quicker than spinning. We cannot build our future hoping that the way we used to operate returns. We cannot wait for permission to claim our value. Hope is not a strategy, and neither is being humble. But rising to become more is. That's why APAP NYC this January, it looks different. And not because we're abandoning what works, the deals, the showcases, the connections that fuel your seasons. Those remain the beating heart of what we do. But because the tectonic shifts we've been through, we have endeavored, and we have to carry us beyond scarcity. We have to move into a post-fear future. If we want to thrive, we need to operate differently. Over 5 days in New York, we are following a deliberate arc. We're building the case for why communities cannot afford to lose us with data, with stories, with evidence that positions us not as grant recipients, but as civic infrastructure. We're sharpening our advocacy tools, teaching you the 7-minute pitch, rapid response skills, how to speak the language that economic development officers, public health officials, and city planners understand. We're designing for what thriving actually looks like. Future-proofing organizations, preventing fraud, understanding how AI can build capacity instead of replacing humanity. We're expanding belonging because inclusive leadership isn't just a nice to have. It's how we build coalitions strong enough to weather anything else this future brings. And we're embracing the creative edge, the innovation, the technology, the courage to take risks that set us apart. This isn't theory, people. It's practice. When I was in Guanajuato, Mexico at Festival Internacional Cervantino this fall, I saw our entire vision come to life through the microcosm of that festival. The city's leaders attended multiple performances each day. The festival's producer was a government official. Art wasn't positioned as a luxury. It was civic infrastructure, visible, valued. Also during the trip, I got to see a lot of new work, and I know how important it is to preserve that. So we must do what we can to ensure cross-cultural engagements are still possible, especially the international ones. And yet I also know that we face hurdles with international touring. But there will be a time when the pendulum swings back and the policies shift again. And the question is, will our relationships be ready? Can you imagine what becomes possible when we stop justifying our existence and start demonstrating our power? We are excited at this conference to welcome leaders like John Scribner from NJPAC, arts and health experts Nataki Garrett, Dr. Jill Sankey, and the National Medical Fellowship CEO Micheline Davis, cross-sector tech advisors from Capacity Interactive, and Americans from the Arts' president, Aaron Harkey, one of our field's most prominent champions. LaChanze, you know we're gonna see LaChanze. That's today. LaChanze will help us launch this evening with her incredible story, Scarcity to Abundance. Tomorrow, we're bringing DC to APAP with a live recording of Ken Bibrar's influential podcast. And artist Mark Bamuthi Joseph will help us launch APAP's 70th anniversary next year campaign at the closing plenary. Don't miss it. That's our Platinum Jubilee. It will be a year-long celebration to ignite new opportunity for the field by expanding our tent. This isn't abstract. When you leave APAP NYC, you will take with you the reconnections of new colleagues and friends, the discoveries of what excites you and fuels more of your purpose, and new resources and tools that equip you with the wherewithal to ensure that your career can flourish in this landscape. It's no longer the job of the advocates or the technologists or the holy grail of foundations to figure this out. It's all of us, and it's a reclaiming of our narrative, our truth, of our impact. The silos will break, and it's about time. You will take with you new advocacy resources, not to become something you're not, but to expand how you express the impact of who you are, thereby who listens, proving that our impact on workforce development, mental health, educational mobility is everywhere. This is the evidence you need when sitting across a city council member or another partner, not a donor, a partner. Cross-sector messaging frameworks that translate what you do into language that resonates with housing developers, workforce agencies, public health systems, the people who control the resources in all of our communities. Strategies that match our need to run the arts as if we, the arts, are running for office. We have to get the widest public possible, listening and involved, and everything in our impact stories demonstrates that we can. Fundraising that mimics advocacy strategies, because live performing arts fundraising isn't just development anymore. It has to connect the dots between the work we do and the public good that the people expect. It's bigger than the sum of our individual parts. You'll take with you AI tools that don't require a tech team, practical resources that help you scale your messaging, analyze your data, and elevate your impact story even when your capacity is strapped. And what's the point in being different this year? Because we're not just providing you with the resources to book a tour. We're helping you make the case for why communities can't afford to lose you. Here's what my training as a dancer taught me. Necessity is the mother of invention. And to invent, you have to show yourself. You have to be willing to take risks, and if you mess up and fall, get up, but do it full out. And no matter what, cross the footlights. Invite the people in to see who you really are. And they say shoot for the moon. You'll land on the stars. My dear friends, I think we've been a little too humble. We've been asking for support when we should be inviting partnership. We've been justifying our existence when we should be demonstrating our value. We've been operating like we're optional when every bit of data proves we're essential. APAP NYC is where presenters book tours that sustain artists and bring world-class experiences to every corner of this country and beyond. APAP NYC is where we learn to tell our truth that unlock the new resources and the new respect. It's where we build the case that when communities invest in culture, everybody wins, not as charity, but as strategic infrastructure. Over 5 days, this convening, this like a congregation, if you will, we'll change the narrative. We will reclaim our power, and we'll do it together. Together, we are the architects of what comes next. We're the connective tissue, how shows get in the can, demonstrating that the $17 billion industry is a real-time economic engine. We are how this ecosystem functions. We are how your work reaches communities nationwide and still across the world. And despite our new challenges to international arts, we in this space are proud to welcome over 200 international colleagues from 38 countries. Welcome. The doors are still open, I hope, and we invite you in. So this moment demands claim our space more boldly, more loudly than we ever had before. If you started to reframe your value to your community with unbridled confidence, not asking for support, but inviting partnership, how would they see you? As equal to measure, equal to impact for public good, and a force to be reckoned with. We don't just belong, we define culture, we define the future. We are the very capacity for hope. And I'll just close and say that the world is watching. They're watching. The funders, they're deciding. Some are here, he's deciding. And our communities are counting on us. So let's show them what we're made of. Welcome to APAP. Come on, let's go. And now I'd like to welcome my partner, my New York partner right here, our beautiful Commissioner of the Office of Media and Entertainment, Swinney Kaufman. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. As you can see, I need to have the mics brought down. So, hello, everyone. It is so nice to be back here again. I did this last year and loved it. I think I did it the year before as well. It's such a great event. So, New York City offers a warm welcome to our APAP partners. All the members of the board of directors, all of the guests who are here tonight, as we kick off the 53rd conference to be hosted in our great city. Our office, affectionately referred to as MOAM, has a mission to support the media and entertainment industries and make them accessible to all New Yorkers. And via this wonderful event, they become accessible to communities across the country. We like to say that when New York City's creative industry thrives, New York City thrives. When people around the world hear about our world-class theater and live performance events and see our iconic streets on their screens, it makes them want to visit, to work, and to live here. I'm an example, a 7-year-old down in North Carolina. I was looking at New York City on the TV screen and knew that's where I had to be, and I got here as fast as I could. So we are very excited that we are creating jobs and supporting small local businesses. And now I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Lisa Richards Toney, to Jenny Thomas, and the entire APAP organization for 13 years of building and supporting Jan Arts NYC. Jan Arts NYC is a citywide, mayor's office supported, month-long collaborative initiative that celebrates New York City's incredible live performance activity in January under one name. And think about it, why do so many people from across this nation and this world want to come to New York? Why? Because they want to see all the live performance and go to Broadway and go to theater and the dance and everything else that this city offers. So this year, Jan Arts NYC includes 12 theaters and performing arts related partners, many of whom are right here in this room. New York City recognizes and appreciates you for everything you do to create such a dynamic breadth of content addressing the rather crazy world that we live in today. There is more to come from Jan Arts NYC throughout the month, including Winter Jazz Fest, Prototype Festival, Under the Radar Festival, and so much more. The full schedule is available at janartsnyc.org. So go and check it out and see what's going on for the month. I want to take one more moment to thank Lisa for being a member of the New York City Theater and Live Performance Industry Council, a council that my office, the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, set up. And we've been so thrilled that we got the kinds of people like Lisa to be a part of this council and bring us ideas and advice. This council demonstrates the commitment of public and private stakeholders to support the theater and live performance sector through these unprecedented times. We look forward to the recommendations from the council that we'll be hearing later in the year regarding everything from real estate and healthcare, accessibility and equity, and workforce and partnerships. I'm also very excited to report that last year we hosted the first ever Made in New York award ceremony at Gracie Mansion that was entirely dedicated to New York City's theater and live performance community. Thank you. And in fact, the triple threat talent, LaChanze, who will be speaking a bit later in the program, was one of our award honorees. Yes, Okay, that's enough for me. On behalf of the City of New York, I wish you a fantastic conference, and I say many thanks to you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you to Commissioner Kaufman. It's always a joy to welcome you. I'd now like to welcome to the stage our opening night sponsor, AudienceView's Rosemary Majori. Rosemary.
First, I want to say thank you for welcoming AudienceView again. This is, I think, the third time I've been up here giving the plenary. And it's because we are such fans of APAP as an organization, not just a conference. I'm so impressed with how much this organization truly cares about its members and the industry, and this conference is no exception. So I just have a few remarks I want to share as I thought about what to say to this community. I thought about how weird last year was. It was such a strange year, and we saw so many seismic shifts in our country, many unsettling changes. Federal funding has been threatened, which I have seen trickle down to some of the organizations I'm involved with, to the state and local level. Things just cost more, making it harder to produce. The economic challenges are real, but what has not been stymied is the talent and the brilliance flowing onto our stages. There's been such an incredible wealth of original content and performances that we've seen. What we do in our industry cannot be replaced or eliminated. Last year, we thought our enemy was the couch, and the struggle was getting people to come back out after COVID to see theater live. This year, some are worried about how AI might be stealing from us creatively, but those are just changes, and change is inevitable, and it's not always bad. As Nora Ephron used to say, everything is copy. In other words, it's just life, and we know that no matter what, nothing can replace the experience of live events. No two performances are the same, no two audiences are the same, and every time you as an individual exit a performance, you are also not the same. I pay attention in my line of work to audience surveys, and I read one recently that floored me. Young people look forward to theater because it's a forced break from their phones. I thought that was really interesting, that they want to shut it down. They want to feel transported into a space that has meaning and has that experience, and they don't have to get distracted by these other things that are going on in their lives. We surveyed our own Theater Mania audience, who told us they're more committed than ever to attending multiple live events each year. They're not making excuses. In fact, 44% of our audience told us they plan to attend 13 or more events this year. They need it, and they need you. So this is why this conference is so unique. It's about accessibility, advocacy, and membership. There's so many resources here to tap into. It's kind of unbelievable. It's really a unique conference and a unique organization, truly has a mission of trying to help you and our industry succeed. So I wish everybody a wonderful show and a great 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you so much. And thanks to AudienceView and all of our sponsors and our funders. And I'm going to read them off by name. We have Blueprint Advancement, Cantus Vocal Ensemble, ETICS, Harmony Artists, IMG Artists, World Ballet Company, Bell Labs, Cami Music, Opus 3 Artists, Wasserman Music, Dance Managers Collective, Elsie Management, that was Elsie right there, Epic Artist Management, ONX, Onassis USA, Pacifica Arts Network, Tyco Project, and now our other funders, the Doris Duke Foundation, the New York Community Trust, and the Wallace Foundation. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you. So we're going to transition to a little more art and fun, okay? So since in 2015, I think it was, we've been featuring members of our field in a program called 5 Minutes to Shine, right? These are fast-paced segments that reveal the passion, commitment, and the entrepreneurial can-do that drive arts professionals. Participants work with our storytelling specialist, Alicia Annisted, to craft these snapshots of big ideas, and they bring them to you at several of the plenary sessions that you'll experience at conference. But today, we're excited to feature 2 of our 5 Minutes to Shine storytellers. Sarah McCarthy from Dandelion Artists. Give them a big hand, that's fine. I'm just a conduit. Clap for them, absolutely. And Samuel Hobbs from Push. So please join me in welcoming Sarah McCarthy to the stage.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Sarah McCarthy, the founder of Dandelion Artists, based outside of Portland, Oregon, and I am so honored to be with you tonight. Let's go. In my 20s, I gave up my acting career to work behind the scenes. I like putting the pieces together, and while I loved being on stage, I never had the temperament to book commercials selling canned tomatoes to support my theater ambitions. I did have a mentor who gave me my first gig as a production manager for the Philadelphia International Children's Theater Festival. I felt creative and alive supporting those on stage. I moved into presenting, and I loved it, and then 15 years later, I flipped the script, started an agency dedicated to young audiences, and my work as a creative producer. Now, I have an amazing roster of artists. I work hand in hand with presenters all over the country, and when there's a new project, I find commissioning partners to help fund the development. Not too long ago, I put funding together from Presenters for North, Ashley St. Armand's musical about the experiences of freedom seekers on the Underground Railroad. North came together during the first Trump administration, during COVID, and during the height of the Black Lives Matter protests, and also perimenopause. It was not a time in my life when I felt empowered as an arts worker or as a human, for that matter. But being a champion for this beautiful play was something I could do. Good art is often born in challenging times. We workshopped, premiered, and we toured the country. Here's the thing, though. Not every artist has someone like me in their corner, leveraging relationships and assessing the market. And that means a lot of great projects never tour. I started talking to my youth and family presenter friends about the fact that if we want a healthy pipeline of new programming, we need to pay artists to create it. But how do you scale up the development of new work for an entire sector? I'll tell you how. Last year, I, along with 5 of my dearest friends and colleagues, put our heads together to create and launch the TYA Tour Development Collective. Now, TYA stands for Theater for Young Audiences, but we're using it as an umbrella term to include music and dance, etc. The collective is not a granting organization. We're closer to Shark Tank for young audiences, the TV show where entrepreneurs pitch a panel of angel investors. So here's how it works. Artists pitch their new projects to the collective. Presenters in the collective then give funds to specific projects that align with their mission. For instance, a presenter might be interested in funding a piece that has a local historical connection, or could be a family offering for the holidays that doesn't conflict with their Nutcracker programming. The beauty is that it's direct and it's flexible. There were tons of details to figure out, and we decided to move ahead building the plane as we were flying it. 9 presenters signed on as our founding members last year. Each pledged $5,000 for the first cycle. Our hope was that together we'd raise enough to fund a couple of projects. 34 artists applied, and 10 were selected to pitch. Once the artists pitched, something amazing happened. Presenters were so inspired, they brought more money to the table. Instead of $45,000, our 9 partners contributed $74,000 to 4 projects that each received between $10,000 and $25,000. And each project had at least 3 presenters behind it, creating these little funding teams working together to support the development of each piece. It was a wild experiment that exceeded our expectations and proved how powerful this model could be. These productions are ambitious, joyful, and relevant. Honolulu Theater for Youth is telling the story of Joseph Kekuku, who was 11 years old when he invented the steel guitar. Joshua Holden, the brilliant puppeteer, is creating a vintage holiday review. Daniel Carlton is taking us to the Harlem Renaissance. And Inlet Dance explores what do you do with a problem. The members of the collective aren't just funders, they're partners who are connecting this work to their community and strengthening our field in the process. We just launched our 2nd year, and our ranks have swelled to 21 presenters all over the country, which means you're gonna make me go over time, which means we are working with at least $100,000 this cycle, and I tell you, we are changing the way our field is working together, connecting regularly, sharing resources and ideas. We're still facing challenges and shocks in the arts world, but just like with North, the collective has taught me that innovation and professional collaboration cannot be squashed. Not all artists are on the stage. We're making magic from behind the scenes. I'm here to share my story of how my friends and I are making an impact during a rough time without having it all figured out. It keeps me going. I encourage you to do your thing with all your heart, even in the middle of great social upheaval or perimenopause. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Samuel Hobbs. I'm the artistic director, composer, and choreographer for the dance company Push Fold. Let's go. In 2018, I just premiered my first evening-length work, an immersive, in-the-round performance shaped across choreography and sound and story that I poured my heart into. And someone asked me an all too familiar question: what's next? At the time, I thought it was a career question. I did not yet realize it was a systems question. And looking back, that moment sat at the intersection of my own need and the needs of my community. And yet, the people closest to those needs were the ones rarely shaping the decisions around opportunity. Artists in our city felt isolated, self-producing in small venues, with limited resources, vying for recognition that might lead to a commission, an award, or the ever-elusive unicorn donor that could make a career sustainable. Professional dancers moved to Portland and left within a year, citing a lack of career-relevant training. Audiences had few chances to encounter the breadth of work being created in their city, as programming within established institutions shaped expectations around what felt familiar, viable, and institutionally validated. As a result, emerging companies and choreographers rarely lasted more than 2 or 3 years. And that pattern produced a self-reinforcing cycle. Dwindling audiences across the field, national and international presenters passing the city by, resources concentrating around a select few. Artists, including myself, experience this not as an abstract problem, but as a ceiling. A gate maintained in service of what had always been, even as the very audiences needed to sustain it were disappearing. These realizations came from over a decade inside the ecosystem and then suddenly experiencing it myself as a choreographer. And I'm the type of person who, when I encounter a barrier, I want to know why it exists and whether it can be moved. I've learned that it is often more effective to build a new path than to argue with an old gate. So in 2018, I found myself at that crossroad. I could create another production, then another and another, hoping to be picked up, or I could try to build something I needed, something that might create opportunity not just for me, but for others like me, a forum for dance, a festival, something to change the conversation. I started with what I needed as an artist, opportunity, but not just performances and commissions, access to opportunity and proximity to decision makers. Education, but not just technique, the quiet part said out loud, how to write a grant, how to build a budget that grows with your work, how to lead, how to market, how to write about an art form that most of us practice without words. And tangible resources, professional documentation, production support, and infrastructure, something to hand to someone else and say, yes, you can trust this, take a chance. I then asked, what do I have already, and who else needs this now? At Push Fold, we knew that to survive, we had to lead. We knew that to lead, we had to serve, and to serve, we had to listen. And so in 2019, with a $5,000 grant, a rehearsal space, dancers willing to train, local choreographers, and a clear vision, we launched the Union PX Festival of Contemporary Dance, an intimate 3 days of performances, classes, and conversations. And it was successful. We received feedback, some of which was pushback, calls for more voices, more representation, more access, but it was all data, showing us where to build next, that what we were doing mattered, and that more of our community needed to be involved. In 2020, we opened applications worldwide. We built a rotating curatorial panel made up of local artists from different movement traditions, and we curated based not on how good an artist was, but on how well we could support the next step in their career. And it fundamentally changed who was seen, supported, and celebrated. That first year of an open call for the festival, 73 applications came in from over 30 countries representing 16 movement traditions. The panel selected the lineup, and then when the shutdowns happened in 2020, we pivoted. We deferred the lineup and redesigned 2020 as a live stream conversation with Oregon artists. Over 740 people tuned in that night. Something was still working. Because of that pivot, live streaming became permanent, and in 2021, when we returned in full, we expanded what support could look like. Career development workshops, mentorships, stipends, housing, per diems, NEA support followed, first one granted, then another, and the response kept growing. Our live streams reached over 40 countries. For Festival 26, 183 applications came in this past November, 37 countries, 39 distinct movement styles. The application numbers told us that artists truly see this opportunity to be seen, supported, and taken seriously, and the outcomes told us that the opportunity was relevant. 30% of the festival artists received national commissions, fellowships, and new opportunities, citing Union PDX as the catalyst, with 3 Portland dance organizations commissioning 2 of them. And our community told us, I never thought I would rethink my stance on politics from breakdance. I didn't think Bharatanatyam was for me. I never thought my work could belong on a stage with these other styles, and Sam, I got my first grant. We were not just presenting artists, we were investing in the community at a level relevant to the community. We were placing a door to a future for artists of all styles and company sizes within the community where they could create, connect, learn, and more importantly, move themselves forward. Union PDX did not succeed because of scale, it worked because we shared access. I did not learn that artists needed to be a part of decision-making. I learned how to build a structure where that was actually possible. And once that structure existed, the outcomes followed. Our audiences grew year over year, artists stayed engaged and new artists joined, the conversations changed, and we found a future in our city. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Sarah and Samuel, for those compelling stories. We'll feature 2 more of the 5 Minutes to Shine storytellers at tomorrow's plenary session. Looking forward to seeing you there. So now I would like to introduce the people who really did the work. There are people like you, our members who are our conference committee co-chairs. And none of this would be possible without them, none of it. We are a membership organization, and we have to work together. I would like to invite them to the stage. They put in countless hours into shaping the conference experience. It's very dramatic, they're coming along. Here to share more with you are Laura Sweet. Laura. Mark Wilson. So Mark. Chisa Yamaguchi. Chisa. Chris Kaminsky. Aaron Shackelford. And Sarah Haig. Let's hear from them, and let's give them a big round of applause.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Sweet, and I want to begin by expressing deep gratitude to my fellow co-chairs and to every member of the conference committee. Your thoughtfulness, rigor, creativity, and generosity of time made this gathering possible, and it's truly been a collective effort. Thank you for showing up, for leaning in, and for the work you do every day to ensure the performing arts remain vibrant, relevant, and indispensable. We're so glad you're here. We'd like to recognize a few of our colleagues in the field. If you or your organization are currently participating in or are alumni or recipients of the following APAP programs, please stand up to be recognized. The Emerging Leadership Institute. Stand on up, ELI. The Leadership Fellows Program. 5 Minutes to Shine. Up next, Arts Forward. And how about our YPCA friends, the Young Performers Career Advancement Program? Fantastic. Thank you all for being part of the enduring legacy that makes APAP so strong. And now join me in welcoming back our leader whose strength of vision is blazing new trails as APAP and guiding us into our future, President and CEO Lisa Richards-Toney.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you to the rest of the co-chairs. When you see them around, give them another round of applause. It's now my great honor to introduce a true force of nature, an artist, let me say it again, an artist whose voice, presence, and purpose have shaped American theater for more than 3 decades. LaChanze is a Toney Award-winning performer, producer, and cultural leader whose career embodies the power of the performing arts to move hearts, to shift narratives, and build community. From her iconic history-making performance in The Color Purple, which earned her the Toney Award for Best Actress, to unforgettable turns in Once on This Island, Company, Ragtime, and A Christmas Carol, LaChanze has consistently brought depth, dignity, and truth to every stage that she's graced. But her impact extends far beyond performance. As a producer, advocate, and leader, LaChanze has been a champion for artists and for the future of our field. Most recently, she served as president of the Broadway League, where she helped guide the industry through profound transformation. What makes LaChanze so extraordinary is not only her artistry, but her ability to remind us why the arts matter, why live performance connects us, sustains us, and helps us imagine what's possible, even in uncertain times. Today, we are privileged to open APAP NYC with an artist whose work reflects the very best of our sector, the excellence, the courage, and the generosity of spirit. Please join me in welcoming our opening plenary performer and speaker, LaChanze. LaChanze, welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening. evening, everyone. Oh, I love it. You said it back. I love it. I am so honored to be here with you, with APAP, a community that lives at the intersection where art meets audience, where dreams meet logistics, where imagination meets budget spreadsheets, and still somehow magic happens. This evening, we're talking about scarcity and abundance. And I want to start with a truth that changed my life. Scarcity is a mindset. Abundance is a mindset. And abundance is already here. The work is not to chase abundance. The work is to recognize it, to choose it, and to live as if you deserve it. And this is where APAP and my own story meet. Let me lower that a little bit. Artists cannot experience abundance alone. We don't do this by ourselves. APAP exists because art is communal. The abundance in my life, the opportunities, the rooms, the audiences reached, happened because of people like you. So today is not just about my journey, though we'll get into a lot of that. It's about the relationship between artists who dare to create and presenters who dare to believe in that creation. That relationship is abundant in action. Yeah, that's me. I grew up in a family where I am the oldest of 7 children. My mom was 15 when I was born, and my dad was 17. They grew up across the street from each other. That's how I came to be. We were considered by every rubric of this country poor. Our vacations weren't fancy flights to resorts. They were getting in the back of the station wagon with the brown paper bag packed with a boiled egg, a piece of fried chicken, my favorite, a slice of bread, and an orange. My father was in the Coast Guard, and my mother was at home taking care of everything else. She often spoke about being a young teenage mom, raising her first 4 children by the age of 21. She would wait for my father to come home from the ship to give us his pay for food and bills. Then he'd have to go back out on the ship again to sustain us. These were hard times. But my parents never let us know just how difficult it was, even when my mother would skip meals so that we, the children, would have enough to eat. But even with so much lack, my parents instilled in me the belief that I could do anything and be anything I could imagine, regardless of my circumstances, or what society says I am limited to being. So I grew up with this mindset, this knowledge that there were no limits to who I could be and what I could have. Now, this didn't stop me from feeling insecure at times. The outside of my home didn't support the loving environment inside of it. It's hard to find your strength and confidence as a young Black child in the 60s and 70s who rarely stayed in one city for more than a year, and we desperately needed community. So my parents joined the Black Panther Party. An organization dedicated to protecting, supporting, and teaching Black people and children that we are valued. They did so much to resist the systematic assault on Black bodies and Black culture. And at a very early age, I was taught to be proud of who I am in my Black skin. Some of you in my generation may remember hearing the phrase that I learned at 6 years old, "Say it loud." Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Even the great James Brown wrote a song about it. Y'all remember that one? Dun, 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 dun. Say it loud. I'm Black and I'm proud. Anyway, there was a cultural shift happening, a unified national movement of resistance. See, most of the families that we came to know during my life as a child in the military, we were all in the same economic status. We were all poor. but we didn't know it. The adults modeled for us pride and responsibility for our community and each other. That's where my advocacy for equality was born. Now, with all that traveling up and down the East and West Coast, you can imagine it was difficult for us to maintain friendships as children. So whenever we got to a new city, my mother would put us in an arts program, any arts program she could find. Whether it was dance, drum and bugle corps, step team, any place artists were, my mother knew creative spaces were safe and welcoming. My siblings became my best friends, and with so much creative stimuli, we were on our mission to becoming the next Jackson 5. We went to the Boys and Girls Club, local art centers, organizations that were established to give young people places to develop and inspire creative energy, just like you do at APAP. And these creative outlets meant the world to me. I felt the most comfortable in creative spaces. My mother liked to say singing was my first love. As a baby, music was the only thing that would keep me from crying. I'd be wailing away for one reason or another, and she'd put on a stack of 45s on the record player, and I'd settle down, humming with joy so that she could handle some family task. Later in my childhood, my neighbors always knew when I got home from school because I'd be singing my heart out while playing outside, most often singing Shaka Khan, who was my first voice teacher, even though she didn't know it. Life was going along smoothly until my parents divorced when I was 10. And we moved to Connecticut to live with my uncle until we were settled with my mom on her own. And in her true fashion, she located a cultural arts center named Buoyant Partners Cultural Arts Center and enrolled me and my sister immediately. Angela Bowen Peters, Dr. Angela Bowen Peters, was a fierce Black woman whose mission was to teach young children about the arts and culture from the African diaspora. So from the age of 10 to 16, I was immersed in the world of dance and culture at Angela Bowen Peters. I learned tap, jazz, ballet, modern, and African dance. This was the most influential phase of my childhood. Bowen Peters opened my mind to a world that I could actually see a future in for myself. I always knew that the arts mattered to me, but this was when I truly, truly found and understood my tribe. But it wasn't always fun. Being a rambunctious and flirtatious young teen, I often got distracted. To teach me focus and discipline, Dr. Peters once bumped me down to a level below me for talking and fooling around with the cute boys in the class. These were kids below my ability. So then my ego got involved. And I thought, this is not where I belong. I went home and told my mom, I'm quitting. How dare she put me in a class with the younger dancers? But Dr. Peters called my mom and insisted that I come back and earn my spot. I'm illustrating this story to prove a very important lesson that I learned at that time in my early development. Discipline and focus are necessary skills for serious artists. What you put in is what you get out. And learning that lesson at 15 was pivotal for my development. While growing up in Connecticut, I had the great fortune of discovering Broadway commercials while eating breakfast in the morning before school. You remember those commercials? Oh my God, I used to love Evita. Evita, Chicago, The Wiz, even for colored girls who considered suicide when the rainbow was enough. These were my first shows as a young teenager. I really found my tribe indeed. That's how I was introduced to the world of Broadway, by the way. And I thought, wait, I could do this for a living? So I decided to go to college for drama. My mission was clear. When I started to apply to college, I looked for schools that had robust theater departments, which, interestingly enough, were not many in the 80s. I think every school has a musical theater department today, right? Aren't they everywhere? I love it. But I was lucky enough to find a great drama program at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, an HBCU. At Morgan, I had a ball. Not only was I introduced to the incredibly rich and diverse canon of playwrights and choreographers and literary leaders like James Baldwin, Alice Childress, and Amari Baraka, but I also experienced a world of cultural pride and importance that harkened back to when I was a child. I had brilliant professors, great lecturers like Nikki Giovanni and Cornel West. As a freshman, I hit the ground running. I was cast as a lead in the first play of the season. I was a rising star on campus, but my father felt that it was coming a little too easy for me. And I was having a whole lot of fun, as most college students tend to do. But my dad insisted that I needed a conservatory level of education to be successful in the arts. He was much more conservative and didn't really trust the future in the arts for me. So after 2 incredible years at Morgan State, I was encouraged to transfer to the Philadelphia College of Performing Arts, which was changed to the Philadelphia University of the Arts. I went from being one of the lead actors of a play in a theater group of predominantly black actors to one of 2 black women in the entire program on conditional status. Talk about scarcity. And that was the 2 of us, just me and her, me and my friend Teresa. That challenged my sense of self tremendously. But again, I was determined to succeed in this PWI, which is predominantly white institution. And I struggled to maintain this confidence and pride when everyone around me didn't see me the same way. But I was fortunate to have a brilliant tap dance teacher who taught me to stay vigilant, how to keep my head down and focus on my craft, and how to hold my head up in the face of adversity. While at the University of the Arts, there was a notice posted for a summer job at the Tropicana Hotel in Atlantic City. It was for a musical called Uptown is Hot. I auditioned for a dance role in the ensemble for the late, great Maurice Hines. That was my very first audition, and I will never forget it. I credit him for my entire career because that show, in a surprising turn of events, went to Broadway. So there I was in my dressing room. Well, there were about 13 other people in there, but you wouldn't tell. So I left college for a Broadway show that I thought was gonna run forever and make me a big old star. I got my equity card and had to sleep on a friend's couch. But then we got our closing notice in the first month. Yep. The hit that we were in Atlantic City was not so well received on Broadway. So there I was, an unemployed actor with nowhere else to go. Scarcity, once again. My confidence was being challenged. The scarcity mindset was becoming a part of my thinking. What do I do now? How do I support myself? Will my dreams ever come true? The doubt started to creep in. I have to prove myself. If I don't take this, nothing else will come. There's room for only one of us. And similarly, our industry can fall into the same mindset. Not enough seats sold, not enough funding, not enough audiences, not enough time. When artists and presenters both operate in scarcity mindset, everybody shrinks. Seasons shrink, vision shrinks, and imaginations shrink, communities shrink. When we operate from an abundance mindset, we expand each other because the arts don't actually live in scarcity. The arts live in infinite possibility. Now, even though I was surrounded by tangible scarcity, sleeping on my ex-boyfriend's aunt's couch on the Upper West Side, that's a longer story, I never felt like I didn't deserve to be in this great place I was, or that I didn't deserve all the good around me, and that my future was finite, or that my future was finite. Some may call that a character flaw, naive. I call it my superpower. I was determined to be grateful for absolutely everything I did have. A roof over my head, the potential to do what I love, a community that supported me every step of the way. So after about a month, I was lucky enough to audition for the late, great Michael Bennett for the national tour of Dreamgirls, which ultimately came back to Broadway in 1988. Yeah, we're still in the 80s. I auditioned for Michael Bennett and Michael Peters. The audition said you must be at least 5'6" to be seen for the dreams. My resume said 5'4", but it was the 80s. So I made myself taller by adding 2 pairs of shoulder pads. I put my hair up in that big Janet Jackson, tall top ponytail. I did it all. Actually, my heels were so high I walked into the room. Couldn't even stand straight up. Michael Bennett said after I sang, "Young lady, how tall are you?" I sheepishly stated, 5'6". They burst out laughing. But I guess my audacity left an impression because he said, while laughing, "Young lady, you got the part." Now, I'm giving you all of this history and background because it's important that you know that everything I learned as a young woman developing in the arts was planted very early on in my life. I was monolithic to my approach in the arts. There was nothing else I saw that I could do. So all my energy was poured into this community, our community. So while for some this may seem limiting, I was intrigued by every single area of this business: performing, direction, the types of shows that I could align myself with, that represented who I am authentically. My drive and ambition were always the engine that propelled me forward. Much like what you do here at APAP, your focus on a goal and the amount of people in this room proves that you've achieved it. Like many artists, I used to believe, when I get the role, then I'll be satisfied. As soon as I make it to Broadway, then I'll be successful. Once I win that Toney, then I'll be enough. But accomplishments without commitment to the craft and the challenges that come with that creates a limiting mindset. What I was learning was that I was not in a vacuum. I wasn't an artist by myself. Nothing I was doing was alone. I could sing and dance all I wanted, like I did when I was a kid in my living room. But what mattered was looking up to my peers, being inspired by those models. I learned that all of us in this room, my community, is what truly makes us successful. This is exactly what you encourage here at APAP. The support you all provide is essential. I wish there was an APAP when I was coming up. It would have made things a whole lot easier. For instance, I didn't have an agent. After Dreamgirls, I got back to New York with no work. But I did have access to the backstage newspaper. One day, I saw an audition for a young Caribbean girl named Timoon. I went to the open call in the Equity Building on 46th Street. I peeked my head into a room. Can you believe there was like no one there? First of all, they were sitting around reading books, no phones at this time. And I asked, "Is this the audition room for Timoon?" They said, "Yes, come in." And I sang "Ain't That Peculiar" by Shaka Khan. Had a very limited book. And after 5 callbacks, I was the lead in an off-Broadway show. And that show went to Broadway, which pretty much put my name on the map. Now, in this show, we didn't have a big budget. We didn't even have shoes. The car was 2 flashlights. The rain was an umbrella with strips of fabric attached. Some may see this as scarcity, but I see it as the brilliance of Graciela Danielle. Yes. To build a world with 5 props to fulfill our imaginations and take us on a journey of love and the resilience of the human spirit is abundance in action. We were nominated for 11 Toney Awards, and everywhere I went, everyone was saying, "Girl, you're gonna win that Toney." I learned a hard lesson that while I may feel I'm the best thing on Broadway, the voters thought that I wasn't actually the best. I learned that if you trust and believe what others say about you, whether it be colleagues or critics, it can challenge your faith in yourself. That's why your strength and your confidence and your value must come from within. I learned that the Toney wasn't actually my North Star. What mattered was the constellation of everyone that got me to this point. It was the abundance of the creative energy and the support that encouraged me to move forward. And I did. Shows like Ragtime, The Color Purple, Dessa Rose, and The Bubbly Black Girl Sheds Her Chameleon Skin, just to name a few. And I was thriving. I felt complete support and abundance most of the time. While there were some lean years, ramen noodle lean years, I always knew I was destined for more than what was in front of me. So while I may have been frustrated about the roles I wasn't getting or the salary I thought I deserved, I never let that scarcity mindset sink in. It was a constant battle to stay focused on my goal. Later in life, I got married, had children, built a family, and I kept working. I raised my daughters backstage at The Color Purple, so it's no surprise that there's such creative young women today. And my community supported me. Yeah, there were some bad actors. You all know them well. But as my grandmother would say, whatever you water grows. So I tried hard not to water seeds of envy and competition. The only person I competed with was in my mind, that naysayer. That was one of the best lessons I've ever learned as an artist, to shut that voice up so that I can speak from my heart. Then COVID hit. The world stopped. Broadway shut down for the second time in history. These were dark days. We were living in anxious times, not knowing what the future would hold, and people were dying daily. Then we all watched the tragic murder of George Floyd. It was undeniable. And because we were all home, glued to our phones, the anger poured into the streets in the form of protests. My particular protest was a tweet that I put out calling for support from the theater community. My dear friend Arja McDonald saw my tweet, retweeted it, called me and said, "We must do something." We decided to call 19 of our friends that night to brainstorm of how we can collectively support our community and the young artists that needed to feel seen and valued. And Black Theater United was born. Five years later, we are still standing, and much like APAP, we are doing the work to build a more equitable and inclusive theater community on stage and off. Our most significant contribution is the creation of our New Deal for Broadway, a list of commitments to shift the mindset of exclusion and limited opportunity. We gathered all the leaders in every section of our industry: theater owners, producers, writers, actors, directors, casting directors, general managers, unions, everyone. And we held a summit to create this document, and it lives on our website with over 200 signatories by leaders in our industry committed to this movement. I am the current president of Black Theater United and very proud of the work we've done. APAP continues to model for us at BTU just how necessary it is to push forward and to insist on supporting all members of our industry. But even with all of the excitement of BTU, I was still bored during the pandemic and tired of waiting for my phone to ring, tired of waiting for someone to pick me. So I picked myself. I met with David Stone. Oh, there we go. I met with David Stone, my producing mentor, and throughout COVID, I would drive to his house, sit outside, and learn producing 101. After 9 months, I graduated from Stone University. He said, "You're ready to produce. I want you to partner on 2 of my upcoming shows, Top Dog Underdog and Kimberly Akimbo." And I caught the bug. It was a perfect blend of my artistry, my advocacy, and my business mind. Producing has been interesting because I have learned that I know more than I think I know, if that makes any sense. Being a theater professional for 40 years, I had read, by that time, hundreds of scripts, worked with countless directors and crews, and learned how to even read an audience. I've been in the center of the theater ecosystem. All of that accumulated knowledge guides me when I choose what stories I want to tell, who I want to work with, how I want audiences to feel. This has been my mission as a producer, to trust my gut first, to listen to my instincts, make the decision, and don't question it. And I've been having a good time. Producing shows like Jaja's African Hair Braiding, Buena Vista Social Club, The Outsiders, just to name a few, and many other great shows that are upcoming, has really fulfilled my desire to be a leader in this space and to give back to this community that has given me so much. And now I have the great fortune of sitting at the helm, having the decision-making power to watch these young artists give their all. And I remember what that's like. Working with crew members who ensure everything runs as it should. I know what that's like. Collaborating with directors that are so artistically driven. I know what that's like. I may be the producer, but I also understand the acting, the writing, the direction, the technical elements. See, I've been fortunate enough to learn every aspect of the show and put it into action. All of it. Abundance indeed. An abundance mindset says we create new tables, we give platforms to new voices and stories, we welcome new audiences, and this is exactly what APAP does at its best. You are gate openers, bridge builders, curators of possibility, translators between artists and community. The abundance is evident. So with that, I will say thank you for having me today. It has been wonderful to share my journey with you and how it aligns with yours. We have everything we need to succeed and proceed. And if you have a vision for your life, that means it is meant for you. I often say, I never see myself as a rocket scientist, but I definitely see myself where I am today. So I want to end with a song that for me reminds us of the power that lives in all of us. Thank you, APAP. Thank you for having me today and for letting me share my story with you and how it aligns with your mission. So at this time, I'd like to please welcome to the stage my musical director, who is also a 2-time Tony Award-winning orchestrator and musical director of the Broadway musical hit Buena Vista Social Club, Marco Paguia. I'd like to dedicate this song to the young artists in the room. The Gen Zers, the Alphas,
Are they old enough to be in here? I don't know. But y'all know what I mean, the youngins. This song is for you. To remind yourselves that everything that you need, you already have. There is a place we'll go where there is mostly quiet. Flowers and butterflies, a rainbow lives beside it. And from a velvet sky, a summer storm, you can feel the coolness in the air, but you're still warm. And then a mighty roar will start the sky to crying, but not even lightning will be frightening my lion. And with no fear inside, no need to run, no need to hide, you're standing strong and tall. You're the bravest of them all. And if on courage you must call, then just keep on trying and trying, trying. You're a lion in your own way. Be a lion. I'm standing strong and tall, and we're the bravest of them all. And if on courage you must call, then just keep on trying, trying, trying. You're a lion in your own way. Be a lion. Be a lion. Thank you, APAP.
A lion. Thank you. Show them who we are. We're a lion. I'm not a singer, so I'll let that be. And I'm not gonna try to make this moment more than what she made it, but just to say, show them who we are. We are a lion. Take it with you, enjoy your 5 days, soak it up, build it forward, and thank you for being here. Have a wonderful evening.